Hey y'all, this is Jim Zidane from what was PastorJim.com before GoDaddy reassumed my name and now wants me to pay several $1,000s for it. But that's another point. I'm PastorJim.com with or without the URL. And so I'm sitting here today in my truck, Ford Ranger, and as you can see here, there's a stick shift. And so I was talking to my daughter today. She's 16, and I said, let's go for a drive. We're trying to find things to do. We're about inside the lockdown. And she was commenting the other day, we went to a hill, and a year ago, I was teaching her how to drive in an automatic car. And I asked her to drive up this very steep hill, and she started crying. And I had to work with her several weekends. I couldn't get her to drive up that hill. And we were talking about it today, and I was like, what were you afraid to drive up that hill? And she just didn't understand acceleration, and it felt kind of like a roller coaster. And now she drives up and down that hill without thinking about it. But it was something that created a lot of anxiety for her and seemed really hard. And now I worry because she doesn't, focus and concentrate. Driving's too easy for her, and she's maybe going to be careless. But I wanted her to learn how to drive stick, and I've got an old truck, and sure, it's rough on the truck for someone to learn to drive stick, but I took her to a parking lot, I put her behind the wheel, and I explained how the clutch works over there, the clutch pedal and the acceleration and the brake, and I put her behind the wheel, and I told her, when you come off of that clutch the first time, the car is going to stall. I guarantee it. And I said, then, we're going to accelerate, and we're going to come off the clutch at the same time we accelerate. For those of you that don't drive stick, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyhow, so we went ahead and I put her behind the wheel, got her to start the car, had her foot on the brake. I said, push the clutch in, put it in first, and she did. And I said, now come off of that, come off of the brake, come off of the clutch and accelerate. And sure enough, it just gave a big buck and stopped. And it scared her. It was rough and it was abrupt, and it shakes you. And she said, I don't want to do it anymore. I said, no, honey, that's what you have to do. It's just the only way to learn stick. And so I had her do it again. And this time, she got a little better, but it sputtered and coughed, and it shook the truck. And it feels like the truck's coming apart. And then it stalled with a big boom. And I said, that's okay. And we took a deep breath and did it again. And she started crying. She started crying and shaking. She said, I don't want to hurt your truck. I said, truck's going to be fine. This is the only way to learn. And she just started shaking and crying. I got her calmed down, and I had her do it again. And this time she came off that clutch, and she started to accelerate, and it was coughing and spitting. And I said, keep on the gas, keep on the gas. And man, it sputtered and coughed and choked and rocked. And then eventually it smoothed out, and we were in first gear. And as we kept driving, I said, okay, now, honey, push the clutch in, put it in second gear, and do it again. And again, it coughed and spit, and we were in second gear, and we were just driving down the road. What we're going through right now with this crisis is a crisis. And sometimes we can be so afraid to go through hardship or difficulty or trouble that we just don't want to turn the key. But some things we cannot learn without adversity. In John chapter 16, Jesus said, be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. In the world you will have trouble, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. There are some things we cannot learn in life without going through the rocking and spitting and popping that goes along with learning to do something, learning to trust, learning to be dependent upon God. And certainly going through this pandemic, and worse than the pandemic is the political fighting that we're seeing, the moral fighting that we're seeing for our country. We're seeing that we worshiped sports, and now they're gone. Sometimes the Lord takes away the things that we worship so that we can focus on Him and our neighbors and our friends and our churches. You cannot learn to drive a stick shift without bucking and kicking and feeling like the car's coming apart. And there's just no way to learn it any other way. You just have to keep throwing the clutch in and out and easing off until you get it smoothed out. And there are some things in life that are like that. Following Christ in a world that hates the name of Christ is like that. But anyhow, I encourage you to learn to drive stick shift and learn to walk with your Savior.